Hey, ladies and gentlemen. So for formative 4.2, we're looking at first identifying if it's ionic or covalent. So we look at these four. The first one, sulfur and oxygen are both nonmetals. So this is going to be a covalent compound. The second one, we have tin for iodine, and tin is a metal, which means it's going to be ionic. We have magnesium sulfide, and magnesium again is a metal, so we have another ionic. Aluminum oxide, aluminum again is a metal, so we have another ionic. And diphosphorus pentoxide, phosphorus and oxygen are both nonmetals, so we have a covalent compound. So if we look at our covalent compound first, sulfur dioxide, we know that because there's no prefix, that we have one sulfur. And because the prefix di, we have two oxygens, so we have SO2. For the second one, we have tin 4 iodide, Tin 4 is SN with a +4 charge because it's ionic, so we got to worry about charges. Iodide is I with a -1 charge. So we need 4 iodides or iodines to balance out our charges with tin. So we have SnI4. Next, we have magnesium sulfide. Again, we have to look at charges. We have Mg, and magnesium has 2 valence electrons, so it's got a +2 charge. Sulfide is S, which is sulfur, and the sulfur has 6 valence electrons, so it has a -2 charge. And those charges do add up to 0, so we have Mgs. The next one is aluminum oxide, and aluminum is Al. And aluminum has 3 valence electrons, so it has a +3 charge. Oxide is oxygen, and it's got 6 valence electrons, so just like sulfur, it's got a -2 charge. Those charges don't add up to 0, so we got to keep adding to both sides because this is now 3 - 4, so now we have to add more positive, so we add another aluminum. And now it's 6 - 4, so now we have negatives to add. And now it's 6 - 6, so the charges add to 0. So we have Al2 for 2 aluminums, O3 for 3 oxygens. And last but not least, we have diphosphorus pentoxide. We have phosphorus is P, and we have di, which means 2 P's, so 2 phosphorus. And we have oxygen for O, and we have pent or penta for 5, which means it's going to be P2O5. All right. The next section, we are identifying the names. So we have to first again identify ionic or covalent. We have carbon and hydrogen. So this is going to be a covalent compound. We have nitrogen and oxygen. So another covalent compound. Zinc and chlorine. And zinc is a metal. So it's ionic. Titanium and phosphorus. Titanium again is a metal. So it's ionic. And potassium and sulfur. And so potassium is a metal, so it's again ionic. For our covalent compounds, we have to do our prefixes. So because carbon, there's only one, we don't need a prefix for that one because it's the first element. But there are 4, which is tetra for our hydrogen. And we always change the ending of the second element if it's not a polyatomic. So we have carbon for 1 carbon, and then tetra for 4 hydrogens, hydride, because we changed that ending. Next, we're going to have N2O, and because there's 2 of them now, we do have to use that prefix, so it's going to be di for 2. And because there's 1 oxygen, it's the second element, it always needs a prefix. So we have di for that one, and we have mono for 1. And we have nitrogen, so dinitrogen. And then we have mono, and then oxygen, so mono. But we change it to oxide instead of oxygen. So dinitrogen monoxide. Now we get into our ionic compound. So we have zinc and we have chlorine. And zinc is a transition metal, so we got to check the back of the periodic table, and it doesn't need Roman numerals. So we just leave it as zinc. And then chlorine turns to chloride. No prefixes for ionic. The next one is Ti3P4. So we have titanium and we have phosphorus. But a titanium, if we flip it over, does need Roman numerals. And so we got to check our charges. So we know that phosphorus is going to have a -3 charge, and we need 4 of them. And we need 3 titaniums. And so we have -12. And so we know our left side, our positives, need to add up to 12, and that'll have to be the same number. So if we have 3 of them, they each have to be a +4, which means we have titanium. I could spell titanium, and it's got 4, so we got to put our Roman numeral. And then we have phosphide, because we changed that ending. Last but not least, we have K2S. K is potassium. It doesn't need Roman numerals because it's in the first column. And S is sulfur. And we change that to sulfide. So we have potassium sulfide. All right. We got one more section. I know this one was a lot. So let's just go through and determine if they were correct or incorrect. If we look at that first one, we have CO, and we want to know if that student was correct or incorrect. If we look, C is carbon, which is great. We know that's correct. And because there's only one and it's the first element, it doesn't need a prefix. The second one is O, which is oxygen, which turns into oxide, which is perfect. And because there's only one, it does get the prefix mono. So this one is correct. So this one is correct. The next one is cobalt-3 oxide. So cobalt-3 means that cobalt has a +3 charge, and we know oxygen has a -2 charge. If we look here, our charges aren't going to add up to 0, which means this is going to be incorrect. The next one, we have potassium nitride. We know that potassium is K in nitrogen, or nitride is nitrogen, so it's N. We know that that is P for phosphorus, so this is incorrect. It's not even the right element. The next one, they got super close. We have sulfur and fluorine, and we do even have our hexa for 6, but they flipped where our suffixes go or our endings go. Remember, the first one, the ending doesn't change. The second one, the ending does change. So the endings are wrong on this one. So this one is, again, incorrect because of our endings. Last but not least, we have SR3P2. The first thing we have to realize is that SR is strontium, P is phosphorus, but again, our ending needs to change, so that's incorrect. The other thing we need to remember is strontium is in that second column, so it doesn't ever get Roman numerals, so this is also incorrect. All right, guys, if you have any questions, let me know, or let Ms. Munoz know. Otherwise, have a great day.